So what do you think Addison does the whole time he's in this building?
I figure he probably was just looking for a private place to use the bathroom.
I can see that.
That's got to be what he's doing most of the time.
I agree. He's been here for hours.
He's here for hours every week.
He's not going potty.
He's sleeping.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of A2Y. I am Addison Young, but I am not the host today because we have different hosts today. That's right, plural. Today I'm joined by my parents, Adam and Christine Young.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is for you.
Hi.
Wow, that's some supreme level cheesiness. I know you did not. Oh my goodness. Wow. It's just...
Well, I could have quoted the famous line from the movie, but good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Wow. I don't even know where to roll from that, but we're doing a different host. We're doing a graduation special today. So they are going to be asking me questions instead of me interviewing. That is why they are on my side of the desk. And I'm definitely bitter. I lost my comfy chair. But it is what it is. So they have the questions for me today. So you guys can start throwing them at me in whatever order.
All right. Well, I will ask the first question. So, Addison, what podcast did you listen to that inspired you to start your own A2Y?
So there were quite a few podcasts and shows really that inspired me to do A2Y. Obviously, the Shapiro Show was probably the first one I got really into. Then as I got a little older, I watched a lot of Loud with Crowder, which is what it currently is based on. He used to have what was called a Crowder Closes, which was a 10-minute segment at the end of the show, which was primarily him talking about very serious issues. And a lot of the issues I've taken from the show, and I take snippets of him and then redo it in my viewpoint. So that's what the show is currently is. It's basically just the Crowder Closes segments, but it's my entire show. And then the one that really kicked it off the ground, ironically, was the John Cooper show. Cooper Stuff is what it's called. And he just launched it from his house. He took some wood paneling, threw it up behind him, made a little logo, and rolled with it. And even though he's this giant rock star with millions of streams on Spotify, he was only getting, at the time, he gets a lot more now. He's had some big guests, but at the time when he first started, he was only getting like 130 viewers per episode on YouTube. So I was like, right, if he just started it out of nothing but a microphone and some wood paneling, I can definitely get this started. So literally under 3 weeks later, I had the first episode of A2Y published.
Nice.
Do you want to switch, or do you want to alternate? Okay. So I'm going to take it to a spiritual place. I'm sure that those of your viewers who actually know me are shocked about this, but I want you to, if you can, give an example or tell us how you can tell when the Lord is guiding you and when He's illuminating and showing you what your path needs to be, how you can define and divine that He is leading you in a direction.
Yeah, so ironically, a lot of people, from what I've noticed, get emotional when they feel the presence of the Lord in their hands, but for me, it calms me down. I feel a divine calmness. And normally an uplifting calmness is really when He touches me. And sometimes it's been the opposite, especially lately with all this college decision and all that stuff. It's had to be more of a kick in the pants relationship with a couple things. So normally, like, it's for the show. Every time I get ready for the show is when He comes to me the most. So a lot of prayers in the car ride over, picking the music carefully. Trying to pick songs in which He'll communicate through me. So a lot of Matty Mullins show songs, which you've had to listen to a lot lately. So I normally listen to that, and then I get here, but when I'm trying to write my scripts, I sit for about 10-15 minutes, and I pray and meditate, just trying to wait for something to come to me. Normally it gives me one word, and that one word is what we've been running with. So like last week, last time I recorded it was confrontation, and you can just go, it's normally the title somewhere. So I get the one word, I go find 2 verses on it, write the whole page and a half and roll with it. So yeah, for me it's a divine calmness, normally in an irrational place.
Okay. So as you've been doing A2Y, you have it's our A2Y has already undergone a couple different formats that you've already mentioned. What has been your favorite format so far?
Definitely my new favorite format is what I've been doing with the intro skits and then the 8-minute talking point. The 8-minute talking point allows me to be so much more condensed than what it used to be. Because you're right, it used to have... It started off as what was supposed to be what Steven Crowder used to do when he had a guest. It was his Thursday free show. It was the one show behind the paywall, and it was about an hour and a half. He would cover the news, politics, and then he'd have guests for the last 30 minutes. So I tried to do my own, way less cheaper version of that. I had Caleb on as my guest host, and we tried to talk for about 45 minutes to an hour. We would have pre-written jokes. We would cover a few topics, not necessarily news, just like topics. So like one time we covered the whole thing of sleep pages on Instagram. So we did that to start, but with the creation of TikTok and Reels and the little Facebook shorts, the media landscape's always changing. So I had to adapt, and I had to start trying to get my version of shorts out there. So I've had a couple shorts published to decent success. So I had to start getting into that, which meant I had to condense the show, and with Caleb going off to college and me having to start the full-time schedule at high school for my senior year, I just had to make some cuts somewhere. But I really love the condensed show. I like the new temperament of the show. I don't know if you've noticed that, but that's changed a lot. It used to be way more lighthearted. I've enjoyed getting into the serious stuff, but also having comedic skits where it's lighthearted and normally pretty stupid. So the stupid skits are fun, and then I can do 8 minutes of pretty serious stuff and just kind of be confrontational with it. Sadly, the new format may have to be taken off Spotify eventually. I'm keeping it on there now, but it's hard to justify 8 minutes being on Spotify. So I'm trying to write more to try to get that 8 minutes to be about 15, and then I can justify keeping it on Spotify. But the Spotify base is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that audio listener base is just too big to just kind of cut it. So it's gone through many different formats, and I think it's going to go through a couple more as it progresses.
Okay.
All right, I'll pick up a question, although I really wanted to throw in a funny moment that he probably cut, but I'll throw in a question. What was your favorite, or what is your most meaningful public interaction that you've had? You've had a few times where you've had a chance to be up in front of people or a significant number of people, and so I'm kind of curious what your favorite opportunity to be in front of people is.
So, you changed that question there. He's been doing... They gave me some of the pre-questions, and it was just what was your favorite moment, not most meaningful. So, now you threw a curveball.
You could do an or. It's an or.
So you threw the curveball in there. So the most fun public moment for me was definitely the parade. And being in front of that with my teammates, that was something special. Joking with Rylan beforehand and going out, that was a lot of fun. The most meaningful is like a 3-way tie right now. Currently, the senior honor night at Brandywine. The time I went up at Brandywine, which is the community church here I go to, with Papal was very meaningful. And then I went to a small church. I don't think it was Rush Creek, but it was somewhere out in the country of Indiana. We didn't even have it in the chapel. We went to there was like a house that they had taken and remodeled into like a mini church. So they had taken the living room and all the bedrooms and had broken down all the walls all the way out to the garage wall. And they had a 1-foot elevated stand, and then they had a bunch of chairs and then a kitchen. And I went there and spoke with Papal there, and that was probably the most meaningful because it was the most crowd interaction I could engage with because there was about 20-25 people there. So the crowd engagement was very seamless, unlike Brandywine where you have a couple hundred people there. You can't engage with the crowd that much, and you have to be careful with how much you engage in the crowd in that setting. But at 20-25 people, we could engage much more. So that was probably the most meaningful I've ever done.
All right, proud parent moment right there. Sorry. Go ahead, Christine.
Well, this goes back to A2Y. Where do you see A2Y in 5 years? Hopefully you will have graduated. And do you plan to keep your show going during college? Where do you see yourself in
So
5 years?
dead. No, it's not going to be dead. It's definitely going to be changed. It probably won't be what it is. I'm kind of revving up for the point where I can go independent from World Renewal. I'm very thankful for World Renewal offering me this opportunity, but I'm kind of ready to take the clamps off and run with it in a different arena. Try to see if I can make a bigger impact in that way. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and I would like to be able to be more confrontational with it. Here, because it's a nonprofit, I'm trying to be very protective of it. I want to avoid any backlash as I can, which has been more difficult, especially now that I've gone to that 8-minute condensed segment, because I've been hitting some major issues, you know, and a lot of personal stuff with people. So I'm trying to do, you know, with the A2Y, I have to try to fix individuals, and I have to make individuals who watch it look at themselves and try to find their flaws and try to pick up on that. And I'm trying to find them new flaws, such as not being confrontational or just not being confident or, you know, lashing out at people and not fixing those same issues with themselves. As in, if I change the show up in the way I plan to, I could go after groups more and try to make a broader impact in the world. So it'll probably go to a different kind of show and cover news and such. But it would still be called A2Y, but it would be something different. I have a plan in the works.
So you want to get more topical, more real world interactive.
Yeah, I want to be able to read the headlines from the night before, the morning of, cover the headlines. Here I can't cover headlines. I'm just too biased. I can't do it. I tried it, and I had it. There's an awful episode. Whenever someone asks me what my least favorite episode is, it's definitely the second episode, because I was trying to cover the whole Dr. Seuss shenanigans, and I had to cut it. I just couldn't do it. So that was an awful episode. Jeez, that was the first one. Started off hot, and then we tripped and fell on our face hard. Because that first episode me and Caleb ever did was one take. It was one seamless take with no stop, no start. As in that second one, it's like 8 takes. It was absurd. It was 3 just to get started. It was rough.
But I didn't have any of the classic moments. You didn't stay with me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so now YouTube, if you haven't noticed, has a new feature called Most Replayed. So when you're sliding along, you can it'll have a little bar graph, and it'll show the most replayed. And it used to be just that the creators could see that. So I knew that moment in that particular episode, which I'm not going to put in the card, I knew that moment was the most replayed, but now everyone can see that particular moment. Because the episode now has like 35 views. It was my first independent episode.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got like 30. It's got a lot of views. It's the third most viewed episode on the channel.
And some classic moments.
Yeah, it does have some. There's been a few classic gems on here.
Well, as this is the graduation episode, are you wanting to tell your audience what you're going to be doing? So, Addison, what are your future plans?
I feel like a lot of them already know, but I'm going to Ivy Tech for the first 2 years begrudgingly. Kind of kicking and screaming with it, but I'm doing it. Literally registering for classes, literally getting ready to write a big check to him. But I'm doing it with a friend, and so that makes it much easier. So whenever he signs up for classes, I can just do what he's doing. Oh, it's fun. But the nice thing about it is I'm able to stay home. I'm just going to be able to commute to school and probably do some classes online. And with that, I can volunteer at MVMS, as you know, and I'm coaching middle school. I've already done a few practices so far. It's been fun. So I'm excited about that. Excited for the winter. I'm going to have much less to do. It's just going to be work and school and this. But the other thing with staying home is I'm going to be able to get more involved with World Renewal's communication department. So I'm trying to figure out where I can come back and help and do more for this show. I'd like to get a consistent video out per week, and B, do more shorts, and then C, try to help others with their shows. I feel like I'm a very dynamic person, and I can help add to their content. I could also improve my editing skills by editing other people's stuff, because I've gotten to the point where editing this video will not be fun to edit because I currently have a 3-camera setup, but normally I just have a 2-camera setup and one very nice quality mic, so I can edit it down in 5 minutes or less.
So when I have a middle schooler, specifically a 7th grade boy that's really bugging me, I can just, you can make him run a whole bunch.
If he's on the football team.
Possibly. I'll probably already be making them run. I mean, one of the coaches already asked, what do you think so far? And I said, they actually asked, do you think they're going to win a lot? And I said, not yet. I said that to the whole team. So I'm probably not their favorite coach right now, but that's not my job. It's not to be their favorite coach. It's to make them better. So
I think you'll be their favorite coach.
hopefully.
You're mine. You're my
I talked to
favorite
them, already talked to a lot of them one-on-one, which is what I feel you need to do. So.
Mm-hmm.
So, Addison, you've talked about your immediate future plans, and you've talked about A2Y in the long term, but let's hear about some of the real long-term goals and where you're going. If those who are Brandywine attenders have heard a little bit about your long-term objectives, but what is your intent long-term, and where do you want to go?
Yeah, so long-term is interesting. For me, long-term is 4 years. So I plan on currently going to Huntington after Ivy Tech, which is one of the best schools for this in the nation. And after that, I'll build
What is this?
Broadcast journalism, broadcast media, all kinds of media. I mean, they have people working on the Kenobi series right now, and they have a bunch of people at ESPN already. So they have great feeder programs. So I might be able to. I mean, if I go to Huntington, I have a chance of being able to intern at the Fort Wayne Mad Ads all summer, and then instantly make a jump to ESPN. So that'd be cool. But the current main priority plan for me is to do the schooling, intern at a few programs such as PragerU, Daily Wire, etc. Intern there, and then hopefully one of them would pick me up as an editor or something, and then grind my way through there and eventually get my own show through those programs. I mean, it'd be great to just do college, keep A2Y growing enough that I get on the radar and then they pick me up as an independent show. That's the dream, but the more realistic goal is to just intern there, work there, and then kind of prove my chops enough for them to give me a show. That's the long-term goal. Obviously, marriage is down the road there and all kinds of stuff like that. But, I'd like to have a very big impact in that world.
For young people listening, I know having watched you struggle through high school and listening to your siblings, what is some encouragement or advice that you would give to people your age and younger on how to be a conservative growing up right now?
Yeah, it's rough. You got to be able to find people who, I'm not going to really say accept you. Like, I have a lot of friends who don't necessarily accept my politics, but I mean, it's high schoolers and a lot of them don't care. So find the ones who just don't really care that much because you're high schoolers. It's not like you can vote or anything. So, like, seniors, they start to get polarized because you're getting ready to vote and some are already voting. But you're junior to younger, you just got to find those people that don't really care. Or, I mean, best chances you find someone who thinks like you. So that makes up my core friend groups. There are those who ideologically match me on all the core values, but on all those minute values, you just got to find people who don't care, The common conservative thing is it's the economy, stupid, and that's what you're supposed to focus. So find people who just care about, how much they're having to pay for gas, and then you'll have a pretty nice time with them. And it's just values like that. That's what matters. And then as you're younger, go ahead and start, doing your research, I've tried to, as an older sibling, not to try to push my politics on my siblings, but I have shown them what happened to me to get me so involved the way I am. I've showed them great resources like PragerU and Ben Shapiro, of course, and then as they're getting older, I'm starting to show them things like Louder with Crowder and Dennis Prager's Fireside Chats. Those things that have big impacts on me. And I'm not saying my siblings and my close friends have to have the exact politics as me. In fact, I hate when that happens because it's boring. I was talking to my trainer the other day. I'm like, I have a debate itch. Like, I haven't debated in 5 months, and it's rough. It's like an itch under my skin. And, it's boring to have people who think exactly like you all the time. It's incredibly boring. That's what, I love that point because it reminds me that God made us all so different for that reason. If everyone's all the same, it's incredibly boring and dry. So I love the differences, and I love, I feel like one of the big problems with our nation right now is healthy debate is completely out of the question. Mm-hmm. Every time, especially in America, when Americans debate with each other, it's going for the throat and it's going for the kill. Personal. And normally going for the kill pretty quickly and going straight to personal attacks right away. They always and especially once they get uncomfortable. I remember one example in high school. I was in U.S. history class, and I had made my points pretty vivid, just based on my expressions when the teacher would say something. This teacher, by the way, was an amazing teacher. He taught history the best way he could in terms of politicalness, because I have no idea what his politics are. And then same with my government teacher. I know what his politics are, but that's because he told me on a one-on-one level. But as a teacher, I have no idea what his politics were. So those teachers did an excellent job with it. They were both great teachers at the high school, and I'm glad they're there. But there was one point where there was the girl that sat in front of me, and she had been saying like radical stuff to one direction of the political aisle for a long time, and I just started giving quippy little snippets. As you know, I'm extremely sarcastic. So I just started giving sarcastic comments at one point, and so eventually she dramatically turned around in her chair and she was like, all right, well, let's talk about it. And I was like, bet, you know. So we waited till SRT came, which, for those who aren't familiar with Mount Vernon lingo, that's homeroom. So we waited for a homeroom to come, and it got to the point where, she was, even all the people who agreed with her were getting frustrated because she was making their points so poorly. She was trying to make her points all out of emotion. So they were getting extremely uncomfortable and angry. All the people on my side were getting a little toxic because we had a lot of baseball players in that room. And baseball players are fun, and they're also very loud. And so whenever I'd make a very good point, the whole thing that was really bad trolling on my part was I didn't sit upright. I sat very lean back in the chair like this. I sat exactly like that. I was like lounged back in it, so I was extremely casual and not threatening in my nature. And then the baseball players started piling on top of it, and it got to the point where the teacher had to end it because the room was just getting kind of out of control. You had the baseball players yelling encouragement for me and yelling insults at her. She was getting overwhelmed, and she was starting to do what I call topic jumping, where she could not stay on one point. And that's how I know I've won. If you're starting to topic jump on me, and you're trying to catch me off guard, which is pretty hard to do. I'm very well researched on nearly all the political issues, so it's hard to catch me off guard with one. The only way you're going to do that is if you find one I don't care about, so... Which has happened, you know. I love when people are like, well, let's talk about COVID policies. I'm like, no, I would not care.
People's health is people's health. Do you have a question?
Yeah. As you've done A2Y, you've talked about how, your dad asked you how you know the Lord is speaking to you. What has A2Y done for your own personal walk with the Lord on just a daily basis?
Oh, it's had the greatest impact of anything in my entire life on a spiritual level, because it keeps accountability between me and him extremely high, because I can't do the show without him. And every time, I mean, there are a lot of episodes currently in the editing computer where I try to do it without him, and they're not published because they suck. Just be outright, they're terrible and they're awful. So they're just sitting there because I'm never going to publish them because they're awful. So it keeps personal accountability in that sense. And it's like I said, I come in here and I pray and I meditate, and I wait for something to come. And when it does, I got to roll with it. So, and it doesn't matter what it is. There have been some weeks where I'm like, I really don't want to do that lesson, but I do it anyway. So it's been really good for me in that sense. It's held me accountable, and it makes me keep doing my research on it, keep me fresh on it, and all that fun stuff right there.
You ready to sign off?
All right. Well, I guess you heard it, man. So it's time to sign off. So thank you for watching another episode of A2Y, and I will see you next time.